you've come to Earth on this sacred mission. November 16, 2014. There are a few different types of entities one can channel if they're particularly open and receptive, and these types are based on where each entity's at along their growth. You can connect with fourth-dimensional souls, which include departed loved ones, and fourth-dimensional guides who are readying themselves to grow into the fifth dimension but still desire to communicate with humanity as an aspect of their service. You can connect with fifth-dimensional guides, angels, etc., who have a lot to share with the awakening humanity. And if you're open enough, you can connect with souls whose dimensional growth is far purer than the fifth dimension. Your ability to connect with various higher dimensional souls is as infinite as you allow it to be, and we can envision a time when far more people are aware of the reality of channeling and the pure, sacred connections you can make. As our scribes beginning to learn, many people on Earth first open up to channeling because they resonate with the idea of connecting with a departed loved one who was close with them in life. This can lead many seekers to explore the practice of channeling, which can eventually lead them to discover that you exist in an infinite, spiritual reality of blissful and harmonious vibrations. Once this is discovered, many earthly souls begin to embrace the ascension path and the spiritual nature of your existence, and those of you who are well along this path can help those around you who are just starting to open up. Growing, learning and making mistakes. Far more souls will be open to spirit in due time, and this is partially because of the rising light quotient on your planet, which is enabling the awakenings of millions of souls who you might have never expected to awaken were it not for the diligent work you're doing in raising the collective vibration. While we note that many of you tend to have difficulty traversing the ascension path or spreading the light you've come to Earth to spread, we want to remind you that spreading the light is your very reason for being on the Earth, and it can be much easier than it has been for many of you if you simply open up and allow it to be. We wholeheartedly encourage you to do everything you can to share your light with the rest of humanity, especially when it's easier not to. You're all growing, learning, and making mistakes along the ascension path, and from our perspective, making mistakes is a necessary aspect of growing and eventually reaching a place where mistakes are things of the past. You'll eventually reach a time when you make little to no mistakes along your paths, and this'll be because you'll have embraced the light to such a magnificent degree that it'll permeate every aspect of your existence and make it practically impossible for you to even desire to falter. Of course, none of you truly desire to falter, but we note that the drive to feed the lower, ego-driven aspects of the finite physical self can sometimes overtake the drive to live in love and express the resulting harmony to everyone around you. You're setting the example of how an awakening soul acts, thinks, and feels with everything you're doing on the Earth, and while you're intended to make mistakes that you learn from and grow into a purer and more whole version of yourselves because of, understand that every action you take on the Earth is monumentally important. The things you do for the restoration of consciousness and the raising of awareness are more important than we can express, and you can feel free to keep this in mind the next time you feel as if descending into anger, negativity, or any other lower quality is really worth your time or energy. We're attempting to toe a fine line by speaking to you about making mistakes and setting an example, because we want you to see that making mistakes is indeed necessary along your paths, but that to continue to make them with the belief that you're supposed to can begin to cause some damage. You are indeed intended to falter every now and then, but the plan isn't for you to continuously falter or never learn from your experiences. The intention of any mistake made along the ascension path is for the essential knowledge and understanding that it usually results to be gained, and the next time you find that you faltered, take every lesson you can out of the event and seek to be stronger next time. You aren't on the Earth to live up to the expectations of any conscious seeker or any higher dimensional soul. You're there to do exactly what you feel is necessary in helping yourselves and everyone around you find a purer and clearer state of consciousness and awareness. You're on the Earth primarily to share the light and the strengthening spiritual perception you've come to rediscover and empower, and you're given a wealth of assistance in the unseen realms that most of you are almost completely unaware of as you go about your daily existence. A wealth of loving assistance. you're given a wealth of loving assistance from various higher dimensional souls who seek to assist you along your difficult but necessary ascension path, and the sooner you enthusiastically open up to the energies and expressions we constantly send, the sooner you'll be able to communicate with us as deeply, purely, and intricately as various scribes who dutifully pick up on our energy, almost on a daily basis. You each have the ability to channel energy and information from the higher realms and from your various spiritual guides, and as with anything else, opening up to this ability is key to successfully practicing it. Like we've mentioned elsewhere, those of you who seek to channel for the first time should expect some initial difficulty and mind-centered blocks along the way, unless, of course, you're one of the many seekers who've been naturally endowed with the ability to channel. Those of you who are endowed may find it easier and more effortless to channel your higher self, your guides, or any other higher dimensional soul you seek to communicate with, but those of you who aren't naturally endowed with the ability might find it difficult to communicate at first. With time, effort, and most importantly, patience, you will make the pure and sacred connections you desire to make, and believing in yourselves and the things you've come to Earth to do is essential to successfully doing them. If you can have faith in yourselves and your divinely ordained abilities, and if you're willing to practice and develop them, you'll have little trouble using them to help yourselves and everyone around you find a blissfully pure state of consciousness that can be used to awaken even more souls to the reality of spirit and the necessity to live in love as much and as often as you can. When we encourage you to live in love, align with the divine, or orient your habits and the things you do throughout your daily existence to spirit and spreading the light, we don't intend to make you feel like you aren't living up to your mission or the things you've come to Earth to do. You are, even when you make necessary mistakes, but again, we want you to see that continually making mistakes isn't as much in the plan as occasionally making them and learning from them. It goes without saying that we'd never recommend you go out of your way to make choices you know aren't in alignment with the divine or in your best interest, and many of you are reaching a place where you no longer require mistakes to learn and grow from because, as we mentioned above, you're already naturally filled with the light and the greater perception that are leading you to be more centered and adjusted than you might have been a short time ago. Everyone will eventually learn about spirit and enthusiastically traverse the ascension path in a time of heightened consciousness and awareness, and if we haven't stressed this enough throughout our various communications, those of you who've started to awaken are setting the example for others to live by when the time comes for all of humanity to be awake and aware of spirit and everything that needs done to bring your planet and society into the light. A lot needs done to transform the surface of your once lost planet, and one of our biggest concerns is the massive, widespread pollution that continues to plague dearest Gaia. You're being given a wealth of assistance with cleansing this pollution, but the job will ultimately be humanity's to do, and in time, everyone on your little blue world will be aware of the necessity to cleanse your planet of the pollution that continues to keep all of you in physically and spiritually poor states of health. We imagine it'll be difficult for many earthly souls to come to terms with the idea that the pollution your planet faces actually affects your physical and spiritual health, but if you could see things on your planet as we see them, you'd understand that you're physically and spiritually one with Gaia. Anything Gaia experiences, positive or negative, you also manifest in your individual and collective energy field. And what you manifest in your energy field goes on to affect your physical spiritual health. In most cases, those on your planet with particularly damaging or debilitating health problems have damaged auric fields that are polluted and require healing before they can experience the physical health and wellness you all deserve. Look to your auric field to determine your physical spiritual health, and understand that the things your planet experiences affects your health much more than most people realize. Turn a new leaf. The pollution Gaia is experiencing is being mirrored in the minds, hearts, and physical bodies of most of humanity, and the seekers on your planet who are particularly receptive and sensitive are, in most cases, the ones who are suffering the most because of all of the negativity and damage that's been manifested on your planet for countless centuries. It's time for humanity to turn a new leaf, to begin cleansing, restoring and healing your planet instead of continuing to hurt her for monetary and material gain, and in time, more people will be aware of everything that needs done to restore Gaia's physical health, and make sure nobody goes without the essential commodities you all require to survive on your difficult world. Your planet's current condition will be practically unheard of in the immediate future when you've all joined together to create the utopia most people would have never expected to see, and your planet's condition will eventually be much purer and more restored than it currently is. This will result from the efforts of each of you who've discovered that you're on the earth for a clear and pure reason, and we'll make our final expressions for this communication with endless encouragement to embrace your missions and the things you know you've come to earth to do. Many of you no longer think or feel like you've come to earth on this sacred and important mission. You know you have, beyond a shadow of a doubt. You know in your minds and hearts that your existence on the earth is for a very necessary and important reason, and we note that this is motivating many of you to offer yourselves to your planet's restoration in immense and unprecedented ways. Continue to embrace your developing missions and everything that comes with them, and seek not to descend into anger or myriad other negative qualities when you find that things aren't going your way or you greet the usual frustration that could bring you down if you let it. Take things easy on yourselves, and know that even when you falter or you don't complete certain tasks or ventures you expected to, you're doing your best with the limited perception you're endowed with, and you'll eventually see that you couldn't have done any better. Even when you falter, you're doing the absolute best you can, and it helps to keep this in mind when you don't feel as if you've done anything real, pure or significant on Earth. You have, and you'll realize just how much you were able to do when you're back in the higher realms, and looking upon your previous earthly experiences with love and appreciation for everything you did and learned along the way. Thank you to my higher self and spiritual guides. Channeled through Wes Anak. cultureofawareness.com